Have you ever just looked at someone, a friend, a coworker, even yourself, and wondered, why are we so different? What is it that makes us tick? Why are some people born to be cautious while others seem to just jump into everything head first? Well, let's get into it.
I mean, just think about how people drive. You've got the person who's always in the fast lane, right? They're decisive, they're on a mission, they're moving forward. And then you have what the author of our source material, Tim LaHaye, calls the pokey Sunday driver. Super calm, kinda indecisive, and you know they are never ever gonna change lanes. But here's the thing, these aren't just driving styles, they're actually little windows into our fundamental personalities.
So according to LaHaye, the real reason for these deep differences isn't just about our choices or how we were brought up. It's something we're literally born with. He calls it our temperament. He suggests we can understand ourselves and pretty much everyone else through a framework of 4 basic types. An idea, by the way, that goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks.
All right, so let's meet the cast of characters, shall we? We're about to break down the 4 core temperaments as LaHaye lays them out. And as we go, see if you can spot yourself or maybe a few people you know in these descriptions.
First up, we've got the sanguine. This is the life of the party, no question. The person who walks into a room and just lifts the energy. They are incredible storytellers, they're full of emotion, and they make friends literally everywhere they go. For them, decisions are almost always driven by their feelings, not by a ton of deep thought.
Next, say hello to the choleric. This is your born leader. They are unbelievably practical, super decisive, and they have a will of absolute steel. Cholerics see a goal and they just move straight towards it. They are not afraid to take charge and are usually the most productive people you will ever meet.
And then we have the melancholy. LaHaye actually calls this one the most gifted temperament. This is your thinker, your artist, your perfectionist. They are deeply analytical, super conscientious, they feel everything so intensely and are often wildly creative. The flip side is, they're more introverted and can sometimes get a little lost in their own thoughts.
And finally, the phlegmatic. This is the calm, steady presence in any group. The rock. They're easygoing, they're reliable, and they are fantastic diplomats. They hate conflict, they work really well under pressure, and they just bring this sense of stability and quiet humor with them. They'd much rather watch from the sidelines than jump right into the middle of things.
Okay, so these definitions are great and all, but how do these types actually show up in the real world, in our day-to-day lives? Because it's one thing to have a label, but it's another thing entirely to see these temperaments in action.
So let's take a super simple, totally universal task, paying the bills. It's something every single one of us has to do, but how we do it can tell you a whole lot about our core temperament.
And the contrast here is just wow. On one hand, you have the sanguine who absolutely despises detail work. They're probably going to overspend, lose the records, and need like 5 reminders before that bill gets paid. But on the complete opposite end, the phlegmatic has a system for everything. They've got a detailed budget, they pay bills early just to get a discount, and for them, balancing a checkbook is actually satisfying.
All right, let's raise the stakes a bit. Let's move from bills to a much more complex area, parenting. How does a parent's natural temperament shape the way they handle discipline?
The sanguine parent is, true to form, totally spontaneous and emotional. They might get loud, they might make big threats, but they almost never follow through. Their kids learn pretty quick to just wait it out. But here's the huge upside. That same parent is also incredibly quick to forgive and just shower their kids with love the second the conflict is over. They simply do not hold a grudge.
So, as you're probably starting to see, no temperament is all good or all bad. Not even close. Each one comes with his built-in set of natural strengths and, you guessed it, a matching set of weaknesses. They're truly 2 sides of the very same coin.
You can really see the pattern laid out here, can't you? The sanguine's warmth and charisma, amazing strengths, but they often come with a lack of discipline. The choleric's incredible, decisive will is a huge asset, but man, it can easily tip over into impatience and anger. The gifted analytical melancholy can create beautiful things, but they often have to fight off negativity. And the calm, reliable phlegmatic is the best friend you could ask for, but they can get stuck in fear and procrastination.
So that brings up a really important question. Where do these weaknesses even come from? And why on earth are they so hard to shake? To answer that, LaHaye's work actually pivots from a psychological model to his own very specific theological explanation for this internal fight.
LaHaye really centers the whole problem around this famous quote from the Apostle Paul.
It's this feeling that I think we've all had, that feeling of knowing exactly what you should do, but feeling this powerful pull to do the complete opposite. It's that classic conflict between our best intentions and our worst impulses.
So in Lahai's Christian framework, this powerful, uncontrollable force is what's called the flesh, or the old nature. He suggests that this is an inherited part of being human that provides the raw fuel for our specific temperament's weaknesses. The choleric's anger, the melancholy's negativity, the sanguine's lack of discipline, and so on.
So, if these weaknesses are so baked into our nature, are we just stuck with them forever? Well, not according to the author. He lays out a spiritual path to overcome them, not by changing your fundamental temperament, but by transforming your behavior from the inside out.
And here it is, the 5-step process that's laid out in the source material. It starts with recognizing these weaknesses not just as personality quirks, but as sin. Then that's followed by confession, and then a conscious choice to yield your own will to God. The 4th step is to believe, by faith, that you are filled with the Holy Spirit. And finally, and this is key, you have to continually feed this new spiritual nature. And here's where it all comes together. This solution is designed to directly counteract the weaknesses we saw earlier. The author frames it using what the Bible calls the fruits of the Spirit, which act like specific antidotes. So for example, love becomes the cure for the choleric's anger and selfishness. Joy is the direct antidote for the melancholy's negativity. Peace is what counters the phlegmatic's anxiety, and faith is what can overcome their fear.
So in the end, Lahai's work leaves us with this really powerful idea. Your fundamental temperament, whether you're a sanguine, a choleric, a melancholy, or a phlegmatic, that's your nature. It's baked in, it's not going anywhere. But your behavior, how you choose to act on those built-in strengths and weaknesses, that is always a choice. So the question to leave you with is this: what patterns do you see in yourself, and what are you going to choose to do about them?